Josh Johnson Show. I'm Josh Johnson, joined by my co-host and fellow stand-up comedian, Logan Nielsen. Logan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, bud. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, you ever have a thing happen that
Yes.
is okay? Good. That's a good start. That's a good start, because if you didn't, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
You gave enough space that for me to jump in there.
Yeah, I gave you an inch and you took your mile.
Yep. You know how I do.
Oh. Funny enough, that's the only part I didn't like.
Was me saying that?
You know how I do.
I didn't say that with that much stank on
That's
it.
how I heard it.
You know how I operate, friend.
That's somehow worse. Yeah.
I know. That's what was the goal, is to piss you off further.
So
What's the thing?
sometimes something happens when you're a kid and you think it's normal, or you don't really notice how crazy it is until you run it by somebody. And then someone with that new perspective lets you know, hey, you should be alarmed.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your experiences are like with summer camp, if you went to summer camp that often. Stuff. I only went to like church camp. Like I didn't really get to go.
That was my extent too.
Yeah, I didn't get.
And
to
even
go,
then, we didn't stay over anywhere. It was just going to church for a week in the summer.
I mean, we stayed over. Like I would stay for a week.
We did like a lock-in one time, and my church was so small. Like the youth group was like 5 of us. Like so we like spent the night in the church, which is weird to think about now. That we were like, hey, there's 5 of us. We could have easily just stayed at someone's house, but we decided to go lock ourselves in the church. And no matter what church, this isn't like a big Gothic church or anything. Every church at night with no one in it is weird.
Yeah.
It's a big empty room with a dead guy in the front. Hanging from
somebody
the wall.
felt the need to make the ceiling extra high.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help as far as noises go. Everything's got an echo to it.
Yes.
But so we would go kind of like that. We would have lock-ins and stuff like that, and then we would have church camp where we'd stay over. But I didn't have any experiences like that bug juice type camp. You know what I mean? Like, remember Disney's Bug Juice, where you had camp with all these activities and all this stuff?
Yeah. Well, I loved movies
that.
like that. I watched, I loved Heavyweights. Used to watch, Salute Your Shorts on Nickelodeon. Yeah. And it's like, I just understood that experience contextually, but I never did like a summer camp. Like, at all.
And honestly, there's one that you might even make fun of me a little bit, but I genuinely thought about it before the pandemic. There's a summer camp for adults that's just all that stuff, but everyone's like in their late 20s and early 30s.
Yeah. No, those have been a new thing in recent years, and I totally get why they exist, and I don't necessarily mock them. To me, it's like, if you want to have that experience, though, just like rent a cabin with some friends, and then really all you need to make it feel more like a summer camp is just have one like really type A friend who loves planning activities. Because that's all you need. You just need one overzealous friend who likes planning shit, and I got some of those. So it's like,
here's the thing.
I don't need to pay money aside from renting a cabin.
I completely agree with you up to one point, which is when you have that much money, you can do things that you just can't do on a trip with your friends. Like, those big trampolines that hurl you into the water? It's like,
fair.
Those are going to be pretty pricey, Like,
that's true. Yeah, if you want like a full camp experience, then I suppose you can do one of those.
Now, of course, your type A friend could organize some zip lining for everybody and all that stuff. Like, that stuff is fine. I'm talking...
I just don't like hanging out with strangers that much. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't...
Sometimes...
That's the thing with those camps.
Sometimes your disdain from strangers almost makes me worry that we were almost not friends. Because I was a stranger at one point.
No.
And I was a pretty abrasive one. I was in your face. Hi, I'm Josh. You want to be friends? We both do comedy.
Well, see, that's what helps. That's actually useful for me to make friends, because then I there's no mystery of just like, oh no, this guy wants to talk to me. Okay, we can be friends. Because I assume, well, this is dark, but this is just something. Like, I assume most people, when they meet me, they don't like me. It's just my assumption. And that's my
really.
That's because I don't like myself, and this is just, I know this sounds like big, maybe heavy revelations, but it's just stuff I've known about myself for a long time. I'm insecure. As much as I am, I exude confidence. It's very much not the case inside. It's to make up for how much I assume no one likes me. I assumed when we started the show, I'm like, all Josh's fans are going to hate me. And that's why I'm always constantly moved that people have really nice things to say about me.
It's funny because whatever, I'm not quite that way, but I am like, no matter who I'm talking to, I'm like, I'm bothering them. And it's the case about half the time, but I definitely think it's the case all the time.
Well, I really learned it like in college, where I'm just like, and I had plenty of friends in college, but I was just like, I started seeing like, I am loud and opinionated. And that doesn't work for a lot of people, and I need to learn to curb it. Because when you're in high school, everyone's annoying, so you don't really catch it, because we're all loud and annoying and stupid. Once you start getting to college, you start meeting people from different places and who have different types of personalities. You're like, I'm not going to get along with everybody.
Sure, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Some people will. And I usually, like, if I'm at like a big gathering of strangers, like a party or something like that, there's always one person who I can tell immediately doesn't fucking like me. And that's just been the case of like my whole life. Anytime I'm at like a big gathering, especially if it's like it's a friend's birthday, I'm like, hey, come on over, I'm having other friends. I get along with most. There's always one that will fucking hate me. They've decided they don't like me, and it's usually because I'm just trying to be funny and stuff like that, because I just like making people laugh. Some people really hate that. Some people really hate it. They think it's desperate, and it probably is at a point if we want to get into the psychology of a comedian, but we don't need to. But
are you sure that one person that doesn't
this
like
shifted
you,
into a fucking therapy session so quick? My God.
No, you're fine. It's just I wonder if the probability of there always being one sounds about as slim as the probability of there always being no one. So it's like, are you sure that in some situations that you haven't picked a person that you're like, they're giving me the side eye, but then they're like, can everybody tell that I have a chipped tooth or something? Like
it has gotten better in recent years as I've just become less of a bitter person, because I used to be more aggressive just because I don't know, I liked arguing too much and whatever. Like now I don't have that as much. I've mellowed out and I like to just give people a chance. You're right. I used to not give people a chance. I think the people who I wouldn't get along with were people who were thinking the exact same way I would. Also people who were also insecure the same way I was. And so we would just look at each other and be like, nah, he's looking around too much. Like we're both saying that to each other. He's too worried. He's too worried what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
Jeez. But no, so with the summer camp thing, but like just going with and just meeting, like I it's weird because I like meeting new people. I do love meeting strangers. But then to immediately be like, all right, we're all spending a week together. I don't know. To me, I just immediately go like, I'd rather just... Because it's so rare to just be able to get like a week with your friends. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather put the effort into planning that to like just spend a week with people who I miss and don't get to see often than like a summer camp situation.
Sure. No, I get that.
Because what happens at summer camps, you meet people and then guess what? You go back to school after the summer's over and you never speak again.
Okay.
I mean, that's the story people tell. Again, I've never been to summer camp, so I don't...
You know how it is at summer camp, all right?
Yeah. You know how it is in those movies I've seen about summer camps?
So here's the thing. I brought all that up because I had a situation like that where my friend went to summer camp, and we're very little at this point. So like we're both 6. So I also now as an adult chop it up to him just being bad at telling stories. But from what he told me, this is what I told him. So he told me, he was like, hey, I went to summer camp. We had the best time. It was great. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I made all these friends, and we made dream catchers. And I was like, oh, that's cool. What else did you do? And he's like, oh, we really just made the dream catchers. And I was like, oh, okay. How long were you there? He's like, oh, I was there for like a month. And I was like, what? So you were there for a month and all you did was make dream catchers? Did you make them every day? He was like, yeah, we made them all the time.
That's a sweatshop.
And then I was like, oh, okay, well, can you show me one? He's like, oh, they didn't really let us keep them. And I had to tell this 6-year-old white boy that I think you were a slave. Like, I think that's slavery. Like that. Like it's my first encounter with something that sounds like slavery. But this sounds bad. They didn't let you keep one, and you made them all. That's slavery.
That's the plot. Oh, this when the old folks home in Happy Gilmore.
Yeah,
Where it's just making old people so he can sell them.
yeah.
I'm like, I've seen that in a movie. I thought it was a summer camp, but I think it's been done in a summer camp too. But yeah.
But it's crazy because it's like, obviously this kid is just bad at relaying information. I hope.
Yeah, he's got a shit memory.
But if you were somewhere for a month and all you can remember doing is making dream catchers, then you probably only made dream catchers. And if you don't have a single one to show for it, you were definitely at a sweatshop.
Or he's just got a horrible sense of time, and he just went and did that one day, and he's like, I don't know, it was like a month.
Even
anyway,
so,
how are you, man? We've been talking for 3 days, and I haven't asked you how you are.
Even so, dude, even if it was a day you thought was a month, how'd you not bring your dream catcher home?
Right.
Why did they have you make a dream catcher? A dream catcher is one of those things.
Well, because I put it down and I hadn't seen it in a week. And so
that kid. That's wild. I still think about that, too, because of the way that he was like, oh, yeah, I was there for like a month. And it was probably one of my first instances. Because I was so young. It was probably one of my first instances of really taking something in that felt like crazy. And like trying to say it out loud to another kid.
Yeah, working through like every step of it, just being like, no, does this make sense?
Yeah, because I was like, wait, a month? You were there a month. And all you did was your little fingers must be ruined. A dream catcher, a good one, is not an easy thing to do.
No. It's kind of finesse work too.
Yeah.
All the little beads and Gotta say though, that's why he was probably such a good mood. No nightmares at that camp. They were surrounded by dream catchers. Everybody sleeping peacefully at that camp for that month.
Oh man, yeah, you're gonna have to sort out your trauma later. Dude, that's still I wish that we still talk so I could be like, hey, remember that conversation we had in August of like 1996? Do you remember that? Were you actually at a sweatshop for a month?
Yeah, did that get shut down?
Yeah, because I even asked him, I was like, oh, okay. Like, he was like, yeah, it was a great time. I'm going to go back next year. I'm like, I wouldn't go back next year if that is the only thing that you did. There's more to life than...
He seemed to like it.
He seemed to really enjoy it.
And now you find out now that he's like the lead. He runs the company that manufactures all of the dream catchers for the world.
Yeah. Oh, man. I really pulled myself up by my dream catching strings and became the monster that created me.
Oh, that's interesting. No.
Yeah. But it's also just one of those things of like, I feel like kids are so bad at telling stories that like you come away with it with like a totally different reaction than what was intended. Because I'm sure he was telling me about summer camp because he had a good time and he wanted me to maybe come next year. I was like, oh, you trying to recruit people now? Like this is a bad idea.
Because they told me though, because if I get 3 friends, then I can have my own operation, and then they make dream catchers for me, right? And then
no, it's not a pyramid; it's a factory. Okay. Oh, it's brutal.
But no, I never did any sleepaway camps. And now that I'm thinking about it, it wasn't really a thing around here. A lot of people, I don't really know anybody who like went to go like sleepaway camps. Like there were things they would call like a summer camp, but it just meant like, oh, for a week or two in the summer, like there was football camps or whatever, where it's like just every day, just kind of intensive like games or whatever. Mm-hmm. Activity camps, but they were never sleepover camps. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I never really knew anybody who did that. I don't know if that's more like a regional thing or, I mean, we got nature around here and shit, so I'm sure it happens around here, but I don't know. I never really knew anybody who went.
Yeah. I also like never really I wanted to go to one very badly for a while, and then was like, oh, actually, I don't know if this is my jam. Because, like, I wanted to go to, like, it's honestly, the adult camps are probably the sum of everything I ever wanted to do. Because I wanted to go to a place that had air conditioning and like a nice bed and stuff, but we still did outdoor stuff, but we weren't outdoors the whole time. Because I think
this is a resort. You're talking about a resort?
Here's the thing, a mix of a resort
right,
and like, you know, kid activities like getting in those balls and running into each other and stuff while you try to play soccer. So it's like stuff like that. Whereas I feel like resorts still don't quite have enough activities. Like you can get massages and you can get all this stuff that's like luxury things, but there's not like just random fun at some resorts, you know?
I mean, yeah, for those usually have to go to like singles resorts or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and even
that are
then,
geared toward, even then the goal is to like get everyone fucking.
Yeah, which is not the
honestly,
same.
But summer camps.
Not really. I mean,
you get a bunch of teens together.
Yeah, teens,
everyone,
but like...
I know, but I'm saying everyone's story, whoever went to a summer camp, so like where like they kind of like fell in love with somebody or whatever and would try to sneak into the girls' cabin or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, is there? That's the thing. At the end of the day, that's what we all are. We're horny and we want to play racquetball or whatever. We want to go play some badminton and try to smooch.
I could see it. I guess I really wanted to have like okay, one of the things that was very fun that we did at church camp one year is they got one of those big blow up rings, like a boxing ring, and they gave us these foam sticks, and we would battle it out on the two platforms and stuff. Yeah, and it was great until this one kid got a concussion, right? And I watched it happen. Like he got clean, and I feel bad. I say I watched it happen. I did it, right? Like okay, so it was, you know, you're supposed to like have the stick like coming in sideways. That's how they like teach you to do it in the little 2-minute tutorial. They give you like, just hit each other side to side, back and forth. And he almost got me off balance a couple times and really like cleaned me. And so as I was falling, I was like, well, I got to bring him with me. And so I really just shot it forward like a jousting stick. Didn't even think I'd hit him. And I hit him in the forehead. And he was out for a second. And then I was like,
you concussed him.
Yeah. I was like, what did I do?
You just said because this kid got a concussion, but really it's you gave a kid a concussion.
Yeah, I feel bad about it. Because then I was like...
Sorry about your brain, King.
Yeah, and then I was like, I think I should walk him. I like walked him to the bathroom so he could like splash his face with water.
But those jousting podiums... I just remember this. We had one of those at my junior prom.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know how other places do prom. They always seem fancier. But ours, like, because it's kind of a small school, so we always had like themes. Obviously, there was like a theme to the prom or whatever. And there's always like the dance, and then usually some like entertainment, which is like usually a hypnotist or a comedian. I've actually performed at the St. Ansgar prom years ago. My old high school, which was interesting, to do an hour of comedy in a fully lit gym to bleachers full of kids in tuxedos and dresses. That was a very interesting experience. No, but we had it was my junior year. I've actually talked about that prom before because that was the one that we had blackjack at too, right?
Yeah.
So the junior class always plans the prom theme that year, and my class when we were juniors. Our class we didn't really get along. None of us really liked working on stuff together. No, seriously. For some reason, we were a class that just didn't really dig each other. We all hung out with different grades, really, and had like groups. We just didn't really get along. We wanted our class motto to be the class of 06, a class divided. That's what we wanted it to be because we just didn't really like each other. And it was the one thing it was actually the one thing we were unified on, and the school wouldn't let us do it because it didn't sound nice. But we were like, no, come on. We don't really like each other.
Wow.
We all came together to like stand up to the school to be like, no, we don't like each other.
You were united in not liking each other.
Yeah, we wanted really bad class mottos and really bad class songs, and they wouldn't let us do it. We're like, come on, we're finally getting along, and you're not letting us pick what we want. But when we had to plan our prom, just no one like really wanted to take place in like the prom committee or whatever, just shit planning. So it was technically like a night in Vegas theme, but really all that meant was we had a couple of like blackjack tables, and I think that was it. Maybe some other like kind of games. There was like a dart game there or some shit too. Mm-hmm. And then we also had one of those American Gladiator jousting pits, and also a mechanical bull. You know, Vegas. You know when you go into the casino and you see people jousting and riding mechanical bulls? Wow. That's what we had. Yeah, it was a weird prom. It was strange. But and we were so minimal with the decorations too. It looked so shabby in there.
Jeez.
But it's what we planned. But yeah, so we were doing the jousting thing, but in tuxedos, which is the way it should be done. You know, it's the King's game after all.
You brought up
a lot. I brought a lot of stuff there, to be honest.
When it came to high school, there was a kid that was kind of in a similar thing where he was supposed to he was supposed to be planning like some of prom, like budgeting stuff. He was like class treasurer and stuff. Mm-hmm. And okay, so this was not at my high school. It might have been Pineville. I don't know where this was. But it was in the area. It was like in the two cities, but basically this class treasurer was supposed to be planning some events and stuff, and he did not. He pretty much embezzled the money.
Yes.
To himself.
That a boy, you're never too young for white collar crime. Come on.
Yeah, and then got in a lot of trouble for it, right?
Like, I fucking bet. Yeah. That's great.
I don't even know if he had to pay back the money, but I remember it was like this whole thing where he was like, yeah, in a huge amount of trouble. But then 10 years later, for the high school reunion, he was in charge again.
Yeah.
They did not learn their lesson. And once again, he stole the money.
Yes. Oh, fool me twice.
Right?
Shame on me.
It was funny too, because it was like it was like such a grapevine thing to even hear about, because it wasn't even like a big crime or something. It was just someone said it. Somebody was like, "Hey, you know they're like class treasure." Like basically did embezzlement. Like basically.
Yeah.
People gave him money and he just kept it.
Yeah. It was embezzlement junior is what he did.
Yeah. I got to look that up. I wonder if there's a place I can find where that happened. Because it was such a grapevine thing that it's not like he was in the news for like embezzling like high school reunion money. It's like, yeah, we could still just go.
Yeah.
Like that's the funny thing about high school reunions is sometimes you like pay someone to buy a thing to make it special or to rent a hall or something like that. And it's like, even if you don't do that, you all still know where you lived when you were in high school, so you can just go back.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I've only been to one high school reunion, and we didn't do anything fancy. And again, for my class not really getting along in high school, we had a great 5-year reunion. It was really fun.
See, that's honestly the way that I think that people should do it. I advocated for that when I was in high school. I was like, guys, this 10-year business is too. People are gonna die. It's too much. Let's do it every 5 years, because like every 5 years is like you're gonna be in contact a little bit more, and you're all gonna be at different stages of life at the same time. Because like 10 years, like some people had like 3 kids by then, and then some people, and then like also sometimes you're just like super busy, so you can't make that one even though you really want to go. Whereas 5 year, it's like, you get to chip away at it.
That was the only one I ever went to. And I honestly only went to that because, like I've talked about, I married my high school girlfriend, and she was the class president. So I had to go to the first one. But I had a great time. But I haven't been to one since, and I don't think they've really done anything fancy. I suppose I've only missed the 10th, and then this year would be our 15th. If we're doing anything, I doubt anyone is. And that's the end of what I was talking about.
Man, here's the thing.
So I don't know if I'll ever go to another one or anything like that. I keep in touch with some people, not many though. I only have a couple friends from high school that I really like stay in touch with.
It's funny with high school reunions as well, because it's like now through Facebook, you kind of know what to expect when you get there.
Yeah.
Like our parents would go to high school reunions not knowing at all what people were going to look like, how their lives have changed, anything. And
are
now
they married?
It's like,
do they have kids? Now it's like now I know who's selling cosmetics on Facebook.
Yeah, now I know.
I know who's duped into pyramid schemes.
Yeah, I also know everyone's like kids' names already. Like
and especially if they're people who put all their shit out in public, who had a messy divorce. Who.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of mystery.
No,
to what they're doing.
I've said happy birthday to you every year.
Yeah. I know what your deal is. That is interesting. I never really thought about that. Reunions probably used to be a lot more fun. Because you had something to talk about of just like, cool, tell me about the last 10 years. Now it's like, I already know the last 10 years, and honestly, I've muted you. So it means I don't want to know more.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, though, because then I wonder how many people spark genuine friendships again through those reunions, because they used to be such a flash in the pan moment of like, all right, if we don't keep up with each other, I won't see you for another 10 years, like if you can make it to the next one. So, we were great friends in high school, and maybe we, could be friends again or something. Like I wonder if those things got rekindled there, because it's different to see a person and hang out with them for a little bit and everything.
Yeah. No. Because even there's people from high school that I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't talked to them in a while. I always liked hanging out with them, and I'm like, I could friend them on Facebook, and then I just don't. And I think I've mentioned that on the show before, and it's not out of anything. It's just like you got to type in a name and click a button. It's a whole thing. So
I'd like to see you like. You start typing their name and then you misspell it by one letter and you're like, I'd have to backspace, so I guess I'm just gonna.
or just I don't even think about it. It brings up the person. I'm just like, that's not what they looked like. Too much has changed. No thanks.
Yeah,
I'm afraid of change. I'm just gonna close this.
They're too different,
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. The next thing I was going to say wasn't going to be fun, so I'll just skip that.
Oh, Lord.
I was just going to say, like, we've had a few classmates die.
Yeah.
Too, so that's always interesting. So I've seen classmates at funerals, so. And, like, their parents' funerals, like, people I knew. I'm going to cut this part out, so let's find something else to talk about.
Okay, so... So this story was told to me.
Okay.
So it was told to me by a friend who it's like this is a lot. So just buckle up.
Okay. All right.
As far you brought it up, you made me think about it with the last few things that you've said.
The stuff I was going to cut out.
You can still cut it out, but this is what brought it on.
Okay.
So he told me the story of his high school reunion and how he was never particularly like popular in high school, so he almost didn't want to go. But his friend convinced him, like, you should go, and if nothing else, you should do it because it's something that you're afraid of doing. Sometimes with something as meaningless as what your classmates that you forgot about think of you, it's fine to just face it, to just like go out there and, like shake hands, and maybe you could get something good out of it. Maybe you could reminisce, because it's not like you're not enjoying your life or something. You have nothing to be ashamed of, and high school was a long time ago, gives him this whole speech. And so we're for the sake of not making the story too complicated, we're going to call the friend who convinced this guy to go with Sean. It's actually more important that we keep up with Sean than that we keep up with the guy whose reunion it was.
Okay, so this is the guy who told the guy he should go to his reunion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Sean, the guy who's like, you got to go to this reunion, you got to face your fears, everything like that, is like, I'll even go with you because they got +1s, right?
Okay.
Sean goes with him to the
+1, more like plus Sean.
Ugh. So Sean goes with him to the high school reunion.
I did that just for your reaction.
Yeah. And basically, one of the reasons why this guy didn't want to go to his reunion is that he went to like a very, very white school and dealt with like some racism whenever he was in, high school in general. So he didn't have the fondest memories for that reason as well.
Okay, so he was like was he like a black kid or something? Was the only kid of person of color at the school? Yeah,
so he was the only kid of color in his class.
Oh, okay.
And then Sean coming with him, which means there's only going to be 2 people of color, presumably, at this entire high school reunion.
Yeah.
So then he goes and him and Sean show up. They're having a decent enough time, right? Like a decent enough, go of things. And basically, when they're getting their name tags, he gets pulled away because what ends up happening is like what ends up happening is that he's like remembered more fondly than he remembers high school. So him and Sean get separated almost immediately because everybody wants to catch up with him, talk to him, stuff like that.
Right.
And so Sean's kind of on his own. And there's a lady that walks past Sean and is like, Fungi, hey. And he turns around and he's like, what? And she's like, hey, it's so good to see you. Hugs him, everything. And before he can even say, I'm not Fungi, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, someone's calling me. I'll have to catch up with you later. Like, runs off, right? And so now Sean is like, okay, clearly they think, like, at least this lady thinks that I'm somebody that I'm not. He said he was the only kid of color in his, in his class, whatever. So it's a little weird. And so then
I'm already predicting where this is going.
Yeah.
Neither of them are good. None of the
No, none of the options are great.
Yeah.
And so then he doesn't tell people that he's Fungi, but he does kind of just have a little fun. He doesn't know these people. He's never going to see them again. So he just has a little bit of fun with like them thinking he's Fungi, right?
I've seen this in a sitcom.
Yeah. It's funny because sometimes people react to things in a way that's like, okay, if it didn't go well on TV, why would it go well right now?
Yeah.
Right? So then
where people are more irrational than they are as written characters.
Yeah. And so then he basically goes through the rest of the night. Him and his friend, Sean and his friend, actually end up having a great time and everything. And then towards the end of the night, they're about to leave, and this guy is like, hey, like they're in the parking lot going to their cars. Like the night's pretty much over. This drunk guy's like, hey, Fungi. And then Sean turns around and gets clocked in the face by this guy, right? Just like full on right cross, catches it in the face. And it's because Fungi, which by the way, it's weird that anyone thinks that Fungi is there because Fungi wasn't in their class. He was a year younger than them. So he shouldn't be at their reunion anyway. Like, this kid was the only kid of color in the class, right?
Right.
The other reason that Fungi should not be there is because he slept with the like quarterback from high school, his wife.
Okay.
And because Sean has not been correcting anyone all night that he's Fungi, and because people haven't seen Fungi in like 10 years...
Right.
Why would anyone all of a sudden not think that this guy who's been letting people call him Fungi is not Fungi?
Right.
And so this guy clocks him. And is like, you ruined my family. And he's like, what? no. It was insane. And then they all had to step in and be like, hey, I'm very sorry. I'm actually not Fungi. I'm sorry for whatever Fungi did, whatever. And then the people who stayed got mad at him because he was a liar. So then the people he had been making like small talk and friends with all night were like, wait, you're not Fungi? That's pretty messed up for you to just act like another guy.
And he went, and that's right. And you all just assumed I was because of the color of my skin. You're all racist. You didn't see the man.
You didn't see the liar beneath the skin, okay?
Yeah. You think we all look alike. How do you all feel? And you, sir, hit me. That's a hate crime.
Yeah. You hate someone else.
Flip it.
Actually named Fungi.
Oh. I thought that was going to go darker, so I'm glad the way it ended, it did. I thought it was going to be, it turns out Fungi's been fucking dead, just no one knew.
That would have been better.
So they found out. Well, it's because your lead-in made me think of that. That what I was talking about reminded you of that. I was like, oh, so someone's secretly dead in this or something.
Oh, man.
Have you been to a high school reunion?
No, I missed mine. Actually, I had to do shows, and so I couldn't go to mine.
Well, that's right, because you said they only did the 10 for you guys, right?
Yeah. I would have gone, though. I would have had a good time. I feel like at the time, it was like, oh, I already have to fly out to do the shows, and I'd already booked my flight, so I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think my 10, I was living in Chicago, and I think I was just busy. Oh, because that was the summer. That's right. I just remember what summer that would have been. That was the summer when my dog had all those bladder stone surgeries. So it's like I was working a lot to try to, because I think it would have happened like right when that was happening. My dog then had the bladder stone stuff. That's what it was. Because I was like I was busy, and I was like, I don't know if I was necessarily on the road, but it's right. I was just trying to work a lot because I had to pay for a lot of surgeries for my dog's bladder stones that she had.
Dude, and it's funny too because I feel like high school reunions are crazy like that because your first one is like still before you're 30. So you still kind of are like weirdly, like you're not a kid at all, but there's still this like youthful look back and you're not old yet, you know?
Right.
So it's like, because at like a 20-year reunion, it's like, all right, like, most of us have kids or something. You know what I mean?
Or it's like, who doesn't have their shit together?
Yeah, yeah.
A 5 year, it's like, oh, we're all just getting out of college. Some of us have like the career now. Some of us are doing whatever, and like no one really cares because it's 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've just been doing school and life and just trying to set up adults. Some of us are married. Some of us had some kids, but like not that many.
Mm-hmm.
Like now a lot more do. But it was just like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah,
we don't need to have anything planned out right now. We're 23. Who cares?
But I'm telling you, man, a 10-year versus like a 20 is like a 10-year feels like, oh, guys, we're all still pretty young, you know? Still, right. We can still go change the world.
Well, that's even if if there's a 15-year one, like it'd be like, yeah, I'm still trying to do comedy and whatever.
But I feel like, some people go there like 30-year or something, and I'm like, man, that like a 30-year is like, guys, we haven't talked this long. It's probably we should probably just move on with all of our lives.
I would love to just like plan for like my 20th or whatever, just right before it, just try to completely change how I look. Like really like grow out long hair, long beard, try to like lose a ton of weight and just be like, yeah, man, no, I've just been, living out, in the wilderness. just come back and be a fake version of me that everyone's like, whoa, what the hell? Like delete all of my social media right before it.
Man.
And then just like alter my appearance.
Well,
that'd be a fun prank for no one.
They caught me with a gun at the airport, so I basically had to be off the grid for the past 7 years until the felony gets expunged.
Yeah. If anyone asks, my name is Fungi.
Yeah.
So we were originally talking about sleepaway camps, huh? And it went
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we went to sleepaway camp, then camp, then growing up, then classes, then school.
So this, I just wanted to make sure that this was still the same episode.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes we record a couple at a time, and then I forget what we talked about when. But that was this episode. We were talking about camps.
Yeah.
So, because a question popped in my head, but then we went on a tangent about reunions. But so you were talking about maybe wanting to do like an adult summer camp thing, right? So I want to know, like, if you had one, like, what would the Josh Johnson adult summer camp experience be? Because yours is going to be different than a lot of people. Because mine would have a lot more booze in it than yours would. So
yeah, we're basically gonna have lots and lots of optional activities, but then one mandatory activity every day, just to like make sure you don't miss out on the experience completely. Because the other thing I've noticed with people, where sometimes, like, okay, for instance, when Sally and I went to Colombia, we were having a great time, but then at one point Sally got really sunburnt, like really bad. It was horrible, and it really wasn't her fault because she had been lathering on the sunscreen all day. It's not her fault.
She just got skin.
Yeah, but
it ain't her fault.
It got her good. And so we spent at least a day.
And by it, you mean the sun.
Yeah. The sun was like, oh, you think, you know what I'd like to think? I'd like to think that the sun watching you put on sunscreen is like when you pass a black guy and you grab your purse tighter. It's like, oh, I hope you don't think that you trying to take your little precautions could stop me if I really wanted it. You know what I mean? Like,
you really think you changed the game? No.
Yeah, I'm not going to take your purse because I'm not a thief. Not because I can't. Don't assume that I can't. Assume that I won't. But don't assume that I can't, all right? I'd rather you be racist than think that I'm weak, okay?
God, that would be such a funny fucking thing. Like, if someone did that and you turn and just go like, nah, I could take it if I wanted it, and then walk away.
Yeah, I could take it if I wanted it.
Just so now they have the fear.
I have money, so I don't need to take it. But if I wanted to take it, I could. But for you to assume that I would take it is very racist, all right? But no, I could take it if I wanted it.
If I wanted it, your ass wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
I would never do that, and you're the bad guy, but I would fucking kick your ass.
I would destroy you. All right?
I would ruin you for that, but you're a bad person.
Yeah.
I have to go to work.
I said all that to say that's what the sun thinks when we put sunblock on.
Yeah.
But she got burned really bad, and so we were in the hotel, and we needed at least like a day to just sort of nurse her burns because they were just brutal, and the sun was not letting up, with his black ass. And so and so the sun was just not letting up. So we spent a whole day in the hotel just getting room service and watching Billions, which was great. I look back on that time as like a great leg of the trip. I know I wasn't burned, but it was very fun for me.
I bet Sally has a different recollection of it.
But all that being said, I find that some of my friends that do go to places end up spending a lot of time in the hotel when it's like, okay, you could just rent a hotel in New York that's nice and be there. Like, you're not really being in a different place if you're laying watching Netflix in Spain in a hotel and laying watching Billions in a, you know what I mean? Like, you really need to be out there for the experience.
But there's something magical about a room that's not yours that you can just kind of ruin a little bit.
Yeah, but they do have those everywhere. That's what I'm saying.
I know they do. No, obviously, if I go to like fucking Spain, I'm not going to sit in the room and watch TV. But like sometimes you go to a place, and I'm also, especially if it's several days, it's like, all right, you know what? I can take a day to just kind of chill in a hotel room. And then it feels like you're not just being lazy and wasting a day because you're in a hotel. You went somewhere, had to go somewhere.
But here's the thing. That's why I say most of the activities at my summer camp would be optional, but at least one would be mandatory so that it gets you out of your own way. It makes you leave at least once, you know?
Okay.
So we would have like all the summer camp fixins, all right? So we're talking those big balls where you try to play soccer and you knock each other down. trampolines, the little thing where you slide into the water. Let me see. I'm trying the rope swings from trees into the lake. That's going to be a big one. The jousting things like I had, those are going to be great. And then there's going to be a lot of live performances, so like concerts and/or comedy shows. But we'll try to stagger them so that people don't have to pick so much between all their favorites. That's my big my only
festival.
Yeah, that's my only big complaint about some festivals is that they're too good and there's too many good acts, and so you end up being disappointed at 8 o'clock every day because 3 of your favorite things are all happening at 8 o'clock.
Right.
So yeah, it would be I mean, part summer camp, part festival.
Okay. What? So okay. No, you answered my question. I was going to say, what other games would you want? But you said you want big soccer.
Oh, as far as games
large
go,
soccer.
If we're talking just straight up games, we would have jumbo versions of all the table games. So, have you ever played the big ass Jenga?
Yes, I have. I just like it called Big Ass Jenga.
Okay, but here's the thing.
They should put that on the box.
Here's the thing. The Jenga I want to play hasn't been invented yet, okay?
You want it big, huh?
When I say big, I mean I want to have it so tall that people have to like use a step ladder because that adds to the balance factor. Because it's one thing to be playing with the big wooden things that come to your waist.
Right.
But if they're big and they're also made out of something else, they wouldn't be made out of wood.
I was going to say, because they can't be wood, because that's basically a railroad tie. And so now if once Jenga falls, the other team dies.
No. It'd probably be made out of what they make the wiffle ball bats out of. So just hollow, but still like, like substantial so that
still wouldn't feel great if it fell on you.
Hey, you should be a winner then. You know what I mean? You should try to.
Well, just because you win the game doesn't mean you're not standing in where it falls. You know what I mean?
No.
You could be the one winning. The person who knocks it over knocks it onto you. We mean nah.
Nah.
You're saying if you win a game, falling objects just avoid you?
I think if you're winning, you're already smart enough to take a step back. Okay? If you're smart enough to keep this thing balanced, you're smart enough to know when to dial it back off a little bit, get some distance between you and the big ass Django so that when it falls, it doesn't fall on you.
Okay.
Then we would have big ass chess, okay? So then there would be someone.
So this is Lil Joshy's big ass summer camp. That's what we got here?
Yeah, 100%. So basically there would be
found the episode title, by the way.
There'd be 2 people, right? On what would you call it? Like sort of like those lifeguard chairs, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they would be on either side of the board with a megaphone. They'd be calling out the moves, right? Mm-hmm. And so you would have to move as a player on the board. You'd have to move where they tell you to move. But then if you're taking something, like let's say your bishop is taking their rook, you would hit them in the face with a water balloon, so that way everybody knows they're out, not just because you're standing in their spot, but because they're wet.
What if you miss, though, with the water balloon?
I mean, we'll give you another water balloon, all right? You're going to need a bunch of them because you're probably going to take, conceivably, you could take 10 pieces. So,
see, that's what I'm saying is you almost need a different, because otherwise, really, you got 2 people playing and then a bunch of other people who have to just stand, 16 other people who have to just stand there and be ordered around.
Mm-hmm. But you haven't heard the best part yet, okay? You haven't heard the best part.
Oh, okay.
So let's say you hit
the winning team gets an orgy.
That's not out of the question. So let's say you hit checkmate and there's still a bunch of pieces on the board, right?
Right.
The incentive is going to be not just to hit checkmate, but to get as many of your other players' pieces off the board as you can, because after checkmate gets taken and that king walks off, then it's just dodgeball with water balloons for everyone that's left on the board.
See, that's what I was just thinking of. Like, what if from the beginning you start with less pieces and it's a mix of chess plus dodgeball, kind of. So everyone on the board, they're throwing water balloons, but they have to stand in the space that their, whatever the team leader makes them go to, and they have to do chess moves.
I mean,
That's
that could work. I just feel like, as long as this is a fast game of chess, and then it helps even it out, because then if we're playing for points, right? It's not just game versus game. If we're playing for points, and let's say you took out all of their pieces except for 4, and then you checkmated them, now it's like 8 against 4, left on the board playing dodgeball.
Yeah. I was just trying to make it more active for the people who like.
Look, those people that are on the board, they should know how to play chess better. All right, so that way they be the ones.
They don't get to play chess. They have to stand there. So like, oh, this guy doesn't know how to use rooks properly, so I'm just standing here the whole time. Mm-hmm. One guy's the pawn, moves first. Like, great. Well, I'm gonna get slammed in the face with a water balloon, and then I don't get to play anymore. And by play, I mean stand here.
Look, everybody's gonna take their turns. All right.
Listen, I'm just saying, as your lawyer, already Big Ass Jenga has us in a lot of hot water.
Big Ass Jenga. All right. Also, there's gonna be what's the other? Oh yeah, Big Ass Rubik's Cube. All right.
How does that even work?
Okay, so Big Ass Rubik's Cube is gonna be 2 teams.
How big ass is the Big Ass Rubik's Cube? First, give me scale.
Oh, it's gonna be heavy. It might just be the size of your bed. It's gonna be hard to move. You gotta be very selective with your picks. But
oh, I forgot to mention this camp is only for bodybuilders. I totally forgot to mention this is like these are basically gonna be like Atlas stones.
Look,
density.
Look, if you want to have a good time, you gotta come prepared. Okay. So big ass Rubik's Cube would basically be 2 teams fighting for time with 2 different Rubik's